Welcome to our video series called Anatomy of a Horror Scene, where we here at Movie Pilot will slice for a classic moment in horror each week and dissect why it's so scary. Today, the movie on the slab is none other than The Conjuring. Real-life paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren may be the focus of The Conjuring, but the breakout star was undoubtedly Annabelle. The possessed doll now stars in 2 spin-off movies of her own, but why was her debut so memorable? Join us as we cut through the horror of The Conjuring's opening scene and explore why Annabelle still haunts us in both our dreams and the cinema too. The Conjuring opens in darkness, building tension as we listen to a discussion of the Annabelle doll. By removing the visual element, director James Wan forces us to pay close attention to the words that are being spoken. A sudden click, followed by an extreme close-up of Annabelle, conveys menace, emphasizing the doll's importance to the story. Dolls are particularly creepy because of the way they resemble humans in a lifeless way. Eyes are the windows to the soul, so this prolonged take forces us to question what lies behind Annabelle's own scarred eyes. The victims discuss how Annabelle only made small movements out of sight at first, something which is typical of the evil doll subgenre, as seen in films like The Boy and James Wan's very own Dead Silence. The period costume on display reinforces that The Conjuring is set in the past. This is a common trope in horror movies that exploits how past eras are both familiar and unfamiliar at the same time, unsettling viewers further. As events are recounted, one uses one long take in order to immerse us in the story that's being told. Instead of showing us everything that happened, this prolonged scene evokes the feel of an urban legend or campfire setting, which is traditionally used to tell stories in horror. Our first full look at Annabelle reveals that the doll is surprisingly large, and the fact that she's sitting there as the story is being told heightens suspense further. In real life, Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll that still resides in the Warrens Occult Museum in Connecticut today. Here though, changes were made in order to imbue Annabelle with more human features, making the idea of her coming to life all the more horrifying. As the flashbacks begin, the audience is thrown into the home of these girls. This is a common convention in horror, as the personal invasion of one's home is far scarier than horror that takes place in a public setting. Unlike doll movies such as Chucky, we never see Annabelle move in this scene, even though it's clear here that she can. Ultimately, it's far more terrifying to imagine what she can do or where she'll be than to see Annabelle run. This is because we instinctively look at the eyes of people in photos first, and the eyes are arguably the most vulnerable area on the body. The scene ends with a shot of the woman dumping Annabelle in the trash outside. Use of this bird's eye view clearly shows that the doll was disposed of and should not return. Of course, as any horror fan knows, this won't be the end of Annabelle's story. Following the success of the 2 Annabelle spin-off movies, fans of The Conjuring can now look forward to expanding this horrorverse further in the shape of The Nun and The Crooked Man 2. Remember to check back with us next week as we sift through the remains of another iconic horror movie and dig up its scariest scene. Suggestions are welcome in the comments section too.